Hi everyone, welcome to Masterclass with Appathon finalists. As all of you guys know, this is basically just a lecture session with Jason Huang's team, who are part of the MIT Summer Appathon competition for this year. First of all, if you haven't already, make sure to join Apping Club. I'll be sending the slides link right now, so you guys can just press the join button. You can just press the join button, which I've attached the link to the Discord server to Apping Club. But basically, Apping Club, we host events like this and we bring opportunities with app creation, AI, internship, or lectures, all of these opportunities to students. So definitely join and don't miss out. But I won't keep my introduction long. Now, let's talk about what we're going to do today. Basically, one, lecture session. Second, Q&A. Very, very simple. Today, we will have inviting the team Renew-Gen. They have made the app Productivity, and their themes is for education and research. Now, let's have Jason Huang and his team continue from here.
Hello, everyone. Hope you're all having a good day. We are going to get started just in a moment. Before we do that, I'd just like to introduce myself. My name is Jason Huang, and I'm here with Itai Miller and Jada Gao. We are Team Renew-Gen, and we created the app Productivity. All right. Hopefully, we all are able to see this. We're good? Okay, let's begin. So, as I said, my name is Jason Huang, and this is the Apping Club's 2023 September workshop, even though it's October right now. And we're here today to talk about the Appathon. What even is an Appathon? Well, you might have heard of a hackathon. Well, this is kind of similar to that. It's a global competition for app creation using MIT App Inventors specifically. You have to use MIT App Inventor to participate in the MIT Appathon. It's hosted by MIT App Inventor as well, and it's available for everyone of any age and in any country. You can work individually yourself or in a team of up to 5. Now you can create. Now the objective for this competition is to create the best app that you can in a certain time frame, which is 2 weeks, according to a variety of themes that will be provided to you. And your submissions will be judged by a specific criteria by a panel of judges. Okay, so that's what Appathon is. I'll take a look at some of the rules. According to the competition, you must submit a presentation explaining your app. You must submit a 2-minute video introducing your app. You must submit your app itself as an AIA project. Your app has to be created during the competition period of the 2 weeks, right? Your apps must follow one of the provided themes, and the themes will be released 2 weeks before the submission deadline. Your apps will be judged on creativity, skills, creativity, design, potential usefulness, technical skill, and your presentation. And finally, your app must be an original idea. And you can see all of these rules on this link right here. We're going to send the slides at the end of the presentation. Now, I'm going to let you in on like a little secret, all right? Not all of these rules are going to be enforced. So what are the actual rules? Well, first, it's true. You must submit a presentation explaining your app, and you must submit an app as an AIA project. However, your video can be over 2 minutes as long as you make good use of your time. You can use any app as long as it wasn't submitted in another competition. So let's say you have like a passion side project that you were working on. You can definitely just adjust it and make sure it fits in a theme, and you can just submit that right away. Your apps will be mostly judged on their potential impact. Obviously, it's important that your design, your creativity, your technical skills, those are all high. Make sure those are all high level, and that will help boost up your app further. But what really makes or breaks what your app is going to win is the potential impact. So let's say you just have an app about, just a video game. Like, that's not going to win the competition, which sucks. I really want to just like create a game or like create like a super fun app and then submit it and then win the competition because of like the technical skills. But that's not all of it. It needs to have major societal implications in order to win. And that's just how the competition goes. And different apps can have the same concept as long as they're not too technically similar, if you know what I'm getting at. because as you will see later, some of the themes are very vague, very broad. So lots of people are going to have the same idea. You're not always going to come up with something super unique. So yeah, that's what the rules really mean. Okay, so now I'm going to hand it off to Itai, and he's going to talk about some of the evolutions of the themes.
Yeah. So there have been 3 years of MIT App Invent, the MIT Appathon, and the themes have remained relatively within the same categories throughout the history of the competition. So usually the categories will relate to either like academics and education, the environment, community, or also your personal well-being. So if you can see in 2021, we had City of the Future, improving academics, and then community and computational action. So you can see that though City of the Future aligns more with like environmental aspects or like sustainability. Improving academics is, of course, education and community, computational action. Those are all other topics that like are under that sort of umbrella. And you can just see how we've gotten more specific like themes as time has gone on, but they've remained relatively within the same umbrella. And you can use this to kind of like infer what the next year's themes are going to be because you can always count on these like three themes of like environment, education, and community in every MIT App Inventor, MIT Appathon competition. So these are some of the past winners from 2022. So Still Fresh by Cindy Xiao was the youth individual winner in 2022, and Recycling was the youth team winner in 2022. So Still Fresh was an app that kept track of food expiration dates in the fridge in order to reduce food waste. So some of the main components they used that allowed them to stand out and win was a database that just incorporated all of these like food products and what their expiration dates would be, as well as like a map to know where to like as well as a map to know where like certain locations for food banks or that sort of thing. And then recycling stood out because it used a machine learning algorithm, AI modeling, to encourage recycling of plastic bottles among schools and students. So incorporating this type of technology, and we'll get more into this later, incorporating really high level technologies into your app is one way that you can stand out and win in the MIT Appathon. And then reiterating on some of the things that Jason said earlier, winning app has a strong concept and idea, large potential societal impact, detailed and organized presentation, captivating and compelling video, and strong technical foundations. The way that you manage yourself between these kind of categories is going to be the key to winning in the appathon. So, for example, you can make up for a slightly weaker like societal impact or like concept if you're able to present ideas well. So oftentimes an idea that's less fleshed out but presented extremely well is going to do better than like a super good app that is presented extremely poorly. So incorporating all of these kind of ideas into the app development process in this competition is going to be extremely essential to doing well. And this is our app, and we're going to show the video at the end of our presentation. So now I'm going to go over the brainstorming process, which is the foundation of the app development process. So idea generation is the foundation of brainstorming. It's probably the most important part of the entire process because everything you do from here is built up upon what idea you decide to go with when you're making your app. So your app should be related to your selected theme, potentially impactful on many people. Don't be too niche or else it's not going to like the judges are going to see that and not score you as well because they'll notice that not many people can use this app. And when you create an app, you want an app that can be used by many people. It has to be feasible, so you have to know how you can implement all of your app functions, and it has to be realistic. It doesn't have to be completely unique because within these themes, sometimes there's a limited amount of things that people can think of, but you want to make your app stand out by including like a few sorts of unique components or presenting it in a unique and engaging way that can make your app stand out from the rest. So you can always look to past winners for inspiration as well. So it's always a good idea to build off of a central theme in unique ways. The central theme might be the same as a lot of other people, but as long as you present yourself uniquely and make yourself stand out, you'll do well. And then these are just a few things to keep in mind during the idea generation process. So you have to make sure to follow the theme. It has to come through in the way you present your app, because even if the foundation of the app that you created is not directly aligned with the theme, you can present it in a way that's engaging and relates to the theme that you guys chose. You're going to kind of check that box and make sure that your app is like aligned with your theme. You are the first step to making sure that your app does well. You want to be convinced that your app can have a major impact on society. So your own personal self-judgment is extremely important when you're generating ideas, because that's going to allow yourself to present yourself better. And also that will show through to the judges and make them, you convincing yourself will allow yourself to convince them. So you have to be confident about your app and its features. Believe in yourself. Throughout the entire process, there are three like main things you want to be thinking about, which are implementation, impact, and environment. How you're going to implement these functions that you're thinking of, how these functions will impact other people, and ways that you can improve your app in the future. Because one of the main things that you are going to include in your presentation that you submit to the MIT Appathon is future improvements. So you want to improve your app during the development process, but you also want to think of ways that you can improve your app and kind of update it in the future. And then these are a few brainstorming techniques that we use during the process and that you can use as well. So a mind map is a solo brainstorming technique. It involves thinking of ideas, branch out from certain topics, and this is extremely useful for the MIT Appathon because you're following themes. So when you're both generating ideas within the theme and also generating ideas from the app idea that you land on, using a mind map can be a really useful way to individually think of different functions or ideas to implement. So we use this ourselves during our app development process because we ended up just listing ideas that we could implement for our own app in this sort of mind map way, except sometimes you don't have to like a mind map is kind of more of an idea. So it doesn't have to be like structured like you can see in the photo. It can also be like the list that you see on the right side. And then active collaboration is a brainstorming technique for teams. So it's just basically when you're in a meeting, you can bounce ideas off of each other to create a better product. As a team, we met for basically every single day during the 2 weeks that the Appathon took place. So we had a lot of active collaboration during the process, and that allowed us to create a strong app with a lot of strong functions. Then dividing up work is a way you can speed up the brainstorming process. So you can independently generate ideas and then evaluate them as a team during meetings. So during the app development process this year, we had each of our team members list off a few ideas within each of the themes. And then when we met together as a team, we chose the best ideas out of those ones that we all came up with to pursue further, ultimately landing us with the idea we finally went with, which was productivity teams. So you can do this both for the idea selecting process and the function, like coming up with functions for your app. And you can see a little screenshot of one of the Google Docs that we used during our idea generation process that lists off functions that we were thinking of and building on both independently and as a team throughout the entire process. And now I'm going to hand it over to Jada, who's going to talk about presentation.
So for our presentation, so the first part of our presentation, before we created the slides and the script and everything, was obviously doing research on our topic. So we found research papers that had studies on procrastination, and we basically found that procrastination decreased in group settings, and we found different studying techniques that helped with procrastination. And when you're conducting research, it's important to have a goal for your app and find research that backs it up. So for example, for us, we knew that we wanted our app to focus on studying techniques and group collaboration. So that's why, like, when we were conducting research, we searched up types of studying techniques that prevent procrastination, or how group collaboration prevents procrastination. Because if you just search up what prevents procrastination, you're going to get a myriad of results that probably like may or may not have anything to do with your app. So it's good to narrow down your research, and that'll speed up the process. And then the next part of our presentation was the script writing for our video. So we made a script that gave a general explanation of our app. And this was quite hard since the video was only 2 minutes, so we had to be very concise. We highly recommend if you have visuals or slides or anything, to summarize each slide or visual up in one sentence and just keep the important parts, since it really saves time. And since you only have 2 minutes. And you make sure to explain the problem you are trying to solve and how your app is going to be a solution very clearly, because that's what the judges are going to be paying attention to when they're watching the video. You want to place emphasis on the demo. So for us, the demo was the major part, was the longest part of our video, because it's showcasing your actual app. And that's what the Appathon is really about. It's about the product, and it's about what app you're going to showcase. So the judges really want to see how it works. So you want to place extra attention on that. And then the next part of our presentation was our slides. So we created 2 slideshows. The first one was describing our goal, our research, our function, solutions, and acknowledgements. And this was used in the video as a visual to give the judges kind of a visual representation of what we were talking about. And then the one that we actually submitted was the template that the Appathon gave us. And this basically just included a general description of your app, what theme you were trying to solve, and screenshots of your app. So this was the one that we submitted as our like actual slideshow. And although it's not required, we recommend creating a design chart, as it allows the judges to see the flow of your app clearly, and all of the different parts of your app, like what it's used for, to kind of just see clearly like how the app flows and like how user-friendly it is. And we also created a logo for our app. This isn't required, but it makes the app seem more professional and marketable, since obviously the judges are going to be thinking about how users are going to use this app in their real life. So they want to think about it from a user standpoint, and having a logo definitely makes it seem more user-friendly. And now I'm going to pass it on to Jason, who's going to talk about the actual app building.
Thank you. Well, when we're talking about app building, since it's going to be built in MIT App Inventor, the app building section is definitely going to depend on your experience and your proficiency with App Inventor, which is not always easy to do. But I do have a few suggestions that I could give you to kind of make your job a little easier. So before you actually begin coding, I would create a flowchart to map out the components of your app. You can see what we did here. So we have our login, and then that login page goes to the create account page, home page, and then that just kind of gives you a visual of what you want to actually create before you start coding. Next, preparation is key. Make sure you are talking with your team. If you're working with a team, that you clearly communicate which components you want to add, what features you want to have in your app, that just makes it a lot easier to follow and code your app down the line. But you also need to keep in mind that most likely you will need to make changes and adjust things on the fly. So you can't just rely on your flowchart and expect your original plan to work perfectly, because obviously some things could happen. Maybe the original feature you really wanted to implement is just not possible with MIT App Inventor, or it's just going to take too long, or you don't know how to do it and it's not possible to do within that time frame. And that's like where you really need to be good at improvising and making changes on the fly. I would also create a sketch or a visualization of the screens and how your app is actually going to look. That kind of really helps you with the designing of your app. And I would also create a shared team account if you're working with a team for all of your people to use, because App Inventor unfortunately does not support collaboration. So that just allows different people to edit the app. Next, we're gonna talk about the components of a successful app. One is definitely artificial intelligence. This was even mentioned in the official competition. They encourage using chatbot and ChatGPT in your incorporating it into your app, because artificial intelligence is the future and your app wants to have major societal implications. MIT App Inventor, it allows the incorporation of ChatGPT and chatbots very easily now. So if you have the time, I would definitely research it and see if you can implement it in any way. Another important thing is using advanced features such as APIs and the any component blocks. You can find some tutorials online about how to use these, but yeah, they are a little bit more difficult. They're a little more advanced, but they can really help show your proficiency level in MIT App Inventor, and that can definitely boost your score as well. You also want your app to be intuitive, which means it's easy for the user to understand how it works, but not too simple. Okay, it also needs to be sleek looking and professional. I would also definitely use different fonts, different colors, and different icons to make it pop and stand out. By the way, some people don't know this, but you can actually upload your own fonts onto MIT App Inventor. You don't have to just use the default fonts they give you, and that really helps your app stand out and look really pretty, if you care about that, of course. And you can also find some tutorials on how to make some advanced apps on MIT App Inventor here. This really helped me with coding the app for us, and definitely we will send the slides at the end of the presentation. So yeah, that's pretty much all I got for you for app building. The rest of that you really just have to figure out on your own. Next, creating your video editing. So before you start creating, obviously you want to plan it out, just like everything we've talked about. Planning is key. First, you want to write a script, as Jada talked about earlier. Then you want to distribute your lines if you're working with a team. I would also suggest for you to plan out your visuals, which is like your slides, your stock footage, your clip arts, whatever you want to use. That just shows like, that kind of just shows, that's for your video to show like what's important about your app and how you're going to implement it into society, Your video also needs to demonstrate how to use your app. So make sure you have an idea of how you want to show that. Make sure you're also familiar with the video editing software that you plan on using. This is so important. You don't want to be the guy that's on like the last day, you don't know how to use your video editing software and you're just like fumbling around trying to figure it out. Do not do that. I would suggest figuring it out, getting familiar with how to use your software at least a day or two in advance. Funny story, I actually used Filmora for our app, and I did not realize it was not a free application until I finished editing everything, and it was like 2 a.m, and I had to actually buy the subscription so we can submit our app. So yeah, I would not suggest doing that. Definitely just take a look at whatever app you plan on using. I know iMovie and WeVideo, those are great free options. Final Cut Pro you can use on the Mac, and Adobe Premiere is the one I'm most familiar with. And finally, make sure you're giving yourselves enough time. Do not procrastinate on making your video. You never know what technical difficulties can happen. So yeah, for sure, just make sure that you know that you have enough time to do this. Next, actually creating your video. If you're working at a team, distribute your lines and record them separately. One suggestion I can have for you is your phone can actually work great as a microphone. You just have to speak directly into the mic and horizontally. That's going to prevent some of the popping. Make sure you're speaking clearly and emphatically. You don't have to be like super excited because you want the judges to take you seriously, but make sure that you are sounding actually emotionally involved and you actually care about your app. Now, English subtitles, those are part of the requirements. You can use that with any video editing software. Make sure you show why your app matters. You can do that through personal videos, such as like a demonstration of where you can implement your app in real life. You can use stock footage, you can use images, whatever you like. I know for us, we just explained it with our slides, and some words, and make sure you demonstrate how your app works. This is very important as well. I know Jana mentioned this. To create your demonstration, you can screen record your phone, or you can take a video of you using the app with another phone. When you're recording your demo, I would recommend you downloading your app instead of using the MIT companion app. So if you've worked with App Inventor before, or you know that in order to test your app, you need to take your phone, scan it, and then you can play around with it on your phone. That's not going to work for your demo because some things can happen. It could disconnect. You don't want it to disconnect as you're recording. So I would recommend you downloading the app directly onto your phone so that it's like an actual app on there, and then record your demo using that downloaded app. Okay. And also you want to record your voiceover separately, just so it's less things on your mind as you're kind of like messing around with it. Your video can be over 2 minutes, but you should use your time wisely. You should not just be muttering for like 30 seconds or like pausing everywhere. Just make sure that you are aware of what the time that you are using up. Okay. And finally, do not procrastinate on making your video. We learned this lesson the hard way, but give yourselves at least 2 to 3 days in advance to record and edit everything. So here is our video. We're just going to show this very quickly. Let me know if the sound is working. Please just give me a second.
This is our app, Productivity Teams.
Procrastination, defined as putting off work, is a problem that affects a wide range of activities. Pertaining to schoolwork, there are a few research-based study techniques that can make the studying process easier and more efficient for all.
Our solution is based on a few research papers, revealing that working in teams greatly decreased procrastinations and using active study strategies greatly improved academic scores.
Our app enables users to engage in team-based collaboration, fostering an environment where peers and parents can offer encouragement and support to facilitate productivity. Additionally, the app offers users a unique chance to explore diverse study habits that align with their distinct study approaches and subjects of study.
Now here's Jason with the demo.
To use the Productivity Teams app, users will first have to create an account using their name, phone number, and username and password. After signing up, the user is brought to the homepage, where they can first take a quick diagnostic quiz to learn about which study method suits them the most. One such example is the Pomodoro method, which utilizes a looping timer to keep the user focused on their studying while still giving them enough time to rest and recover. Another option is the Feynman technique, where the user will be able to record themselves explaining a topic as if they were teaching an elementary school student. The final method is the Leitner system, which is a method that uses index cards by separating them into 3 different levels of understanding. The ones on the lower levels require the most studying, while the ones at the top needs the least. Using our app, the user can quickly create, move, study, and edit the index cards all in one place. To help aid procrastination, we've developed a social media-like friending system that allows users to connect with other users on the app. Using the system, users can receive words of encouragement through the chat room feature, or check up on their friends using the view status feature. Additionally, the calendar function can also be used to remind the user of an upcoming deadline or plan future study sessions. We've also incorporated chatbot and artificial intelligence that generates practice questions for any given subject. And finally, on the profile page, the user can change their account information or log out of their account.
To expand our app in the future, we plan on adding more study techniques to the app and improving the collaboration system. These are our references, and thank you to these individuals for helping us.
Thanks for listening.
All right, so that is app. Just let me exit out of here. And okay, so I am going to hand this back to Jada to finish up our presentation.
Okay, so just last words of advice. The first thing is we provided right here a sample action plan. And just a note, we did not follow this action plan, but this is kind of what you should be doing. You should be like planning out like how many days you're going to take to like do each step of the process. And obviously you don't have to follow it to a T, because obviously life happens, you know, your schedules can change. But you should be like estimating how much time you're taking on each step of the way. Otherwise, if you're not really planning accordingly, you could just end up having to do everything at the last minute, and obviously your final product is not going to be as good. So this is just a sample action plan. Again, we did not use this, but we did make our own sort of action plan that we followed. And then just some more general advice. Communicating with your team is key. So we held group meetings almost every week to discuss our progress. And we also had a Discord server where we communicated and we sent like the slides and like the different docs that we were working on. We allotted tasks to each person to make sure that the process was more organized. This is especially important because you don't want like everyone working on like the app, for example, and no one's doing the slides, no one's doing the video. So you want to kind of split up your work evenly. And make sure to have all the materials ready the day before the due date. I think that we've stressed this a lot. Don't procrastinate and submit your app early. Don't wait until last second. So the app is due at midnight anywhere on Earth. So for example, if you're in Pacific time in the United States, that's basically 5 a.m. the day after. So it's delayed 5 hours. So you basically have some wiggle room depending on which part of the world you're in. And we ended up having some technical issues during our submission. Like, for example, our like slideshows kept disappearing and like things just weren't like getting stored properly. But luckily, we still had a few hours to fix it. And check past Q&A forums for information if you have any questions. So if you just search up MIT Appathon like summer Q&A forums, you'll find this like a lot of forums from past years, and a lot of the questions are answered by the actual judges. So for example, we were confused on like whether or not like the 2-minute time limit for the video was really like enforced strictly. So we searched it up, and in the forum, one of the judges answered it and said that it's not like too strict, but basically if you like go over 2 minutes, then that just means that they have less time to review the other components of your submission, since they only like give a certain amount of time reviewing each app. So that's just an example. Make sure to just ask questions in the forum if you have any as well, since the judges will give you a lot of insight and you'll understand what they're looking for. Okay, so that's it for our lecture. Thank you guys for listening. And if you have any questions, then just type it in the Q&A section.
Thank you guys for listening.
All right. So before we end, I have some tips to also share to just add on. So one thing is because right now we're in like this age where we hype up AI, NLP, ChatGPT, right? Even this year in the MIT Summer Appathon, they were like saying, oh, highly recommended to use NLPs like ChatGPT or like DALL-E for image recognition. I mean, for image generation, actually. So some recommendations I will have to say for like building your like apps with AI, which is highly recommended because that makes your apps like sound, oh wow, right? This uses AI. Sounds very complicated. Even though sometimes you're just using a pre-built API to train your model. For example, while I was making the tree identification app with my team, we had to train like over 121 pictures where we had to literally go into like take pictures of our community and then make the classification of the trees. But for example, this was using RoboFlow. It wasn't that complicated. I just had to take a bunch of pictures and then tell the AI, okay, what this is, right? It's really simple. Obviously, you can use it like the choice to build your own AI or NLP, but building your own LLM, large language models, is very, very complicated. A lot of you guys probably do not have the skills to do something like that. So therefore, I've put up like a list of possible AIs that you could use to help you with your app development competitions or just in general app development. Try it out. I feel like it would definitely help if you're doing competitions related to creating apps, right? Or not even just creating apps, anything, right? Any competition related to like programming. So this is just some I have found that to be useful. So, and it's pretty common field. I didn't put like any really, really off fields. So yeah, I'll share the link with everyone, and yeah, just have it as a resource, right? Okay, that did not send to everyone. And then, Jason Huang, if you mind, can you just send the link to everyone for the slides? Yeah. So obviously, definitely make sure to remember to join the Apping Club server because we have all of our resources and videos all on there. In addition, currently, like us and also like the officer team here, which is like Jason Huang's team, they're all on the officers. So we're actually making this video series to help students learn about how do you use MIT App Inventor. Wait for that to come out and check it out. And then during Thanksgiving, we also plan to host like a crash course to help everyone, to boost everyone, especially with the incoming Congressional App Challenge, right? Pretty sure most of you guys here probably know the Congressional App Challenge. And we have also created a training camp server for this program and competition to guide students to hopefully do well, right? And then as a practice, make sure like we're gonna be doing this contest that'll be very interesting, which is creating photo gallery apps, possibly using image recognition AIs. And I feel like this will be a good practice for all of our members because really creating apps and like doing these competitions is more about do you have the pre-built skills or knowledge, right? Because most competitions, the time they gave you is very short, unlike Congressional or MIT Appathon, where they gave you like weeks. But most competitions like hackathons, those competitions, if you want to go to like those competitions, the time is usually like 2 days. So it's great to have a bunch of pre-built apps and also to further elevate Jason's statement about like, have some like you have to build a new app for the MIT Summer Appathon. I personally think it's more about having an app to really change it. You could like, for example, if I submit an app to this other hackathon like 5 months ago, and I changed it completely, I changed the UI, I changed my program based off of the feedback, that's a new app. So a lot of people do that. That's just a strategy I'm saying. I'm not saying you can do that, but I'm saying like a lot of competitors do that. And for hackathons, there's like some of them, there's no way they created their apps in 2 days, right? Some of them create like, oh, I made something that solves cancer in 2 days. And that's not gonna happen, right? You're not gonna be able to write a whole research paper in 2 days. So it's really more about do you have this arsenal of apps or just like resources that you have that you do on a daily basis. So really creating app is more about like doing it every day and doing more practice. And I feel like Apping Club is like a great resource for everyone to just join and be here to practice your app creation skills. And also we do guide students through these competitions, right? All right, well, with that said, definitely check us out on our website, appingclub.org, very simple. And that's all for today's session. And thank you for Jason Huang, Jaida, and Itai for coming here today and giving out this amazing lecture. So with that said, see you all next time, everyone. Have a good day.